I'm 21, and up until last week I thought I knew who I was. It was my birthday. Nothing huge, just dinner with my mom and stepbrother, some cake, a few texts from friends. My dad didn't show. He said he was stuck working late again, which wasn't new. He's always been the kind of guy who's busy providing, even if that means missing the important stuff. But it wasn't until around 11 p.m. that something really weird happened. I was scrolling through my texts, replying to belated birthday messages, when I saw a notification on my phone from some random Instagram account. No name, just a string of numbers and a generic profile photo. I almost ignored it, but the message preview caught my eye. It said, "Happy birthday? Does he ever mention us?" My stomach dropped. I opened the full message, and the next sentence was worse. "He was with us tonight." I didn't respond right away. I sat there staring at the screen, heart racing. I thought maybe it was some scammer or a prank, but the account had 2 photos, both of a girl about my age. I clicked on one. She looked oddly familiar, like I'd seen her in passing. Her smile was unsettling, because she looked same eyes, same nose, same exact dimple when she smirked. Went cold. It wasn't just a prank. I replied, one sentence. "Who are you?" She replied almost instantly, "Your sister." I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the message from "Your sister." The words looped in my head like an echo I couldn't silence. My mind went everywhere at once. Was it a joke? Did my dad cheat on my mom? Was she older or younger? Was she even real? I clicked through her account. It was private, but the bio said her name was Kayla, and from one of the profile photos I could see a birthday. Same number of candles I had on mine. She was born the same year, same month, 3 days after me. We were the same age. I asked her what she meant by sister. She didn't hesitate. Said we have the same dad. That he's been in her life since birth. That he raised her, took her to school, helped with college. That he was with her that night, my birthday, eating dinner with her mom and siblings. Siblings, as in more than just her. I don't even know how I stayed calm. I didn't cry, didn't scream. I just kept reading her messages as they came in one after another like punches to the gut. She said she didn't want to hurt me, but she was tired of the lie, tired of hiding. She said she'd known about me for years. Her mom told her when she was a teen that her dad had another daughter he wasn't allowed to talk about. Me. I was the secret, and apparently, the mistake. Her mom never wanted me to know. My mom never wanted her to know. And my dad? He kept up both lives like he was flipping between TV channels. One dinner here, one birthday there. Excuses stacked like dominoes that were finally starting to fall. Kayla sent me a photo, a family photo. There he was, my father, standing next to a woman I'd never seen before, smiling, with his arm around Kayla and a younger boy, another daughter in the corner of the photo. They were all wearing matching Christmas pajamas. He looked happy, happier than I've ever seen him. And suddenly, everything started clicking. The weekends he was working, the holidays he skipped, the phone always dying at night, the way he always avoided being in too many of my mom's Facebook posts. He wasn't private, he was hiding, from me. The next morning I confronted my mom. I didn't ease into it. I just asked her, point blank, if Dad had another family. Her reaction wasn't what I expected. She didn't flinch, didn't deny it. She didn't even look confused. She just froze, like her brain had short-circuited and all the energy drained out of her face. That silence, those 5 seconds of nothing, was all the confirmation I needed. She sat down without saying a word. I think she knew the lie was over. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked like she was forcing herself to say words she never planned to say out loud. She told me yes, my dad had been involved with another woman around the same time I was born. She found out during her pregnancy. By then, it was already too late. He promised it was over, that it was a one-time thing, that it meant nothing. But clearly it wasn't, because he never stopped seeing the other woman. He just made 2 separate lives and split himself down the middle. I asked her how long she said she suspected for years, but never had solid proof. Only rumors, missing money, late nights, strange receipts. But she chose to stay, for me. Said she didn't want me growing up in a broken home. Said she thought maybe, eventually, he'd choose us. He never did. I asked her why she never told me. She said she was trying to protect me from the pain, confusion, the truth. She said she thought if I didn't know, I'd grow up happier, that I didn't need to carry the weight of my father's betrayal. But the truth? I'd been carrying it anyway, just didn't have a name for it. Every time he didn't show up, every canceled game, every forgotten school play, every birthday where he came late and left early, I felt it. And now all those moments finally made sense. I wasn't the center of his world. I was the side he kept in the shadows. My mom cried, begged me to understand. She said she loved me and tried to give me the best life she could. And I believe her. But there was this tightness in my chest I couldn't shake. This feeling that everything I thought I knew about my life had just been rewritten with one cruel twist. I wasn't just a kid with a dad who worked too much. I was the result of a man who double-booked fatherhood. And now I couldn't stop wondering, if Kayla had him every Christmas, every birthday, every normal Tuesday, what did I ever have? I didn't know what to do with myself after that. I walked out of the house and just started driving. No plan, no music, nothing but the engine humming while my thoughts spiraled out of control. It was surreal, knowing someone out there had lived the life I always dreamed of, and it was with my dad. The version of him I'd only seen glimpses of, present, loving, reliable, the version I never got. I ended up parked outside a grocery store without even realizing how I got there. I stared at my phone for what felt like hours before I finally did it. I called him. I didn't even think about what I was going to say. I just needed to hear his voice. Needed to know if he'd lie to me, if he'd pretend nothing was wrong, if he'd even pick up. He answered on the third ring, cheerful, like it was just another day. I didn't say hello. I just asked, "Who's Kayla?" The silence was deafening. He didn't speak right away. Then he asked where I'd heard that name. I told him the truth, that she messaged me, that I saw the photos, that I knew everything now, and I swear I could hear his breath catch in his throat. Still, he tried to lie, said she was a distant relative, said someone was messing with me, said I shouldn't believe everything I see online. He got defensive fast, talking fast, scrambling, trying to keep control of the conversation. But the more he talked, the more I could hear the panic in his voice. He was unraveling, so I said it again, slower this time. "She says she's my sister. She says you've been in her life this whole time. Is that true?" He didn't answer. I could hear him breathing, like he was pacing, and then, finally, in the lowest voice I've ever heard from him, he whispered, "Yes." That was it. No apology, no explanation, just one word that split my entire identity in half. I asked him why he would do this to me, to my mom, to all of us. And that's when he said the one thing I don't think I'll ever forget. He said, "It wasn't supposed to be this way. You weren't supposed to find out. Not sorry. Not I messed up. Just, you weren't supposed to find out. Like the only wrong thing was me discovering the truth. Like my life was his dirty little secret." I hung up. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just hit end call and stared at the dashboard while my hands shook uncontrollably. He didn't even try to fix it, because I don't think he ever planned to. After that call, I didn't go home. I couldn't face my mom. Not yet. I didn't want to hear more apologies for a life I didn't choose. So I drove to the only place I felt safe, my friend Eli's house. I didn't tell him what was going on, just asked if I could crash there. He didn't ask questions, just nodded and handed me a blanket. I stared at the ceiling all night, playing the last words from my dad on repeat. "You weren't supposed to find out." Not, "I never meant to hurt you." Not, "I wanted both families." Not, "I love you." Just the quiet confession that I was never meant to know I was the extra, the afterthought, the consequence. And then came the part that stung the most. Kayla knew about for years. She'd seen pictures of me. Her mom talked about like I was just some rumor floating around the house, some reminder of the mess they chose to tolerate. I was real to them, but kept at arm's length. I wasn't family, I was a secret, and it wasn't just her. They all knew. That's what shattered me. My dad didn't just lie to me. He built a world where I was the lie. My childhood memories, every baseball game he missed, every broken promise, every rushed visit, weren't random. They were scheduled around them, around his real family. I kept picturing their Christmas mornings, matching pajamas, family photos, inside jokes, while I was sitting at home with a mom pretending not to cry because he couldn't make it that work emergency. Got stuck at the office. "Next year, sweetheart." There was always a next year, until now. I texted Kayla. I asked her one thing. "Why now?" She responded a few minutes later. "Because I found out he's been telling people you're dead." I stared at that message like it couldn't be real. "Dead?" She followed up, said she overheard her mom on the phone with someone, that her dad, our dad, had told coworkers, even people in Kayla's life, that he once had a daughter who passed away in an accident years ago. That was me. I wasn't just hidden. I was erased. I couldn't breathe after reading that text. He told people I was dead, not estranged, not living with my mom. Dead. How do you even begin to process that? I asked Kayla if she was sure. She said yes. She'd overheard her mom confirming it on a call. Some neighbor had asked why she'd never met his other daughter, and her mom casually said, "She passed away years ago. It was tragic." Tragic. That word hit me like a slap, because I'm still here. I'm still breathing, still waking up every day with my name, my history, my memories, but to them, I was just a story, a ghost. I asked Kayla why her mom would go along with it, and she said something that made my skin crawl, because she always knew he wanted a fresh start. With us. That was it. I wasn't just the secret. I was the stain he needed to scrub out of his life. He built a whole world where I never existed, where I wasn't texting him every birthday he missed, where I didn't cry myself to sleep the year he forgot Christmas entirely, where I didn't spend years defending him to people who told me he didn't care. I believed in him. I spent years believing he was just busy, or bad, at showing love. I excused every red flag because he was still my dad, and now, he was telling people I was gone. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something, break something, anything, to make the pressure in my chest stop crushing me. But all I could do was sit there on Eli's couch, staring into nothing, my hands numb, heart racing. Eli walked in with coffee. I must have looked wrecked because he asked if I was okay, and I just nodded like a robot. I didn't even know how to explain it. How do you tell someone you've been pronounced dead by your own father? And then something weird happened. While I sat there, lost in the shock, Kayla sent me another message, short, almost like a warning. You should check his Facebook. I hadn't looked at it in years. He rarely posted. Just sports clips, work updates, the occasional dad joke. But I opened it, scrolled, and there it was. A post from 3 years ago. A long, somber paragraph, talking about loss, about grief, about how life doesn't always give second chances. At the bottom was a single line that shattered me completely. You were gone too soon, sweet girl. I'll always love you. Hundreds of comments from coworkers, church friends, extended family I didn't even know. People saying things like, I'm so sorry for your loss. She's in a better place. And you're so strong, man. No one questioned it. No one ever asked what happened to me, because my dad had already written the ending, and it didn't include me. I must have read that post a dozen times. That fake eulogy. That public obituary for someone very much alive. The worst part wasn't that he wrote it. It was how believable it was. How easily people accepted it. Because of course they did. To them, I wasn't real. I wasn't in the family photos. I wasn't tagged in holiday posts. I wasn't invited to barbecues or vacations. I'd been edited out of his life long before he made it official, and I realized something that made me sick to my stomach. I hadn't been cut off. I'd been phased out. A slow erasure. A digital death. I started scrolling further. Deep dive. Old posts. Comments. Trying to piece together the timeline. That post, 3 years ago, lined up with something big. That was the year my mom and I had a huge fight. I'd just turned 18, and I wanted to move out, go live with my dad full-time. I thought he'd understand. I thought he'd want me around, but he didn't fight for me. He just told me I'd always have a place, when the time was right. After that, he got harder to reach, stopped replying to texts, changed his number, told me he was going through something. I blamed myself. I thought maybe I pushed too hard, that I scared him off. That was the year he decided I was easier to mourn than to raise. I messaged Kayla again. I needed to know more. I asked her if she ever met any of my family, my mom, my grandparents. She said no, but then she said something that chilled me to the bone. I know what your house looks like, though. We used to drive by it. What? I stared at her message. She explained that years ago, their dad, our dad, used to take her on these weird little drives. Said he wanted her to understand where he came from. He never let her get out of the car, but he'd park a few houses down, point out my place, and just sit there, sometimes for minutes. Once, for nearly an hour. I had no idea. I was inside that house, my house, completely oblivious while my dad sat outside with his real daughter, staring at the life he didn't want anymore, like a man visiting a grave. And it hit me. He didn't write that Facebook post for sympathy. He wrote it because he already believed it. In his mind, I was buried. In his mind, he'd already moved on. It had to happen. I couldn't stop thinking about it, obsessing over it, spiraling into this black hole of questions I couldn't answer on my own. So I made a decision I swore I never would. I went to see him, not unannounced. I texted first, just a simple, cold message. We need to talk. In person. He replied almost instantly, said he was relieved. I reached out, that he'd been meaning to call, that he wanted to explain everything. I didn't want explanations. I wanted the truth. He gave me an address, not the house I grew up visiting on weekends, the one I used to think of as his bachelor pad. This was a new place. Bigger. Suburban. Perfect lawn. Porch lights shaped like lanterns. A mailbox with their last name on, not mine. I sat in the car for 10 minutes before I went in. I almost didn't knock. I thought about turning around, texting him something passive like, never mind, disappearing just like he did. But I didn't. He opened the door looking nervous and 20 years older than I remembered. He went in for a hug. I stepped back. He didn't try again. I walked in. The house smelled like cinnamon. Family photos lined the entryway. One showed him, Kayla, the younger siblings. 3 kids total, all smiling in matching outfits at some pumpkin patch. It looked like a stock photo, except they were real. He asked if I wanted tea. I said no. We sat in the living room, but I didn't sink into the couch like he did. I stayed on the edge, ready to bolt. I looked around. I tried to find me in that house. A single photo, a hint, a shadow. Nothing. I told him I knew everything. About Kayla, about the Facebook post, about the story he told where I died. He didn't deny any of it. He just looked down and started talking, fast, like if he didn't get it out quickly, it might eat him alive. He said he was young, scared. He never wanted to be a father. Not to me, anyway. Said my mom trapped him with a pregnancy, and that by the time he met Kayla's mom, he was already checked out. But she wanted a family. She made him feel needed. She planned for kids. Unlike me. That's when I realized he didn't just lie to protect his secret life. He lied because he saw me as a mistake he never signed up for. I asked him if he ever loved me. He didn't answer. He just looked away, and that silence, it said more than any lie ever could. I walked out of that house without saying goodbye. He didn't follow me. He didn't call out. He just stayed sitting there on that perfect beige couch, drowning in the silence he created. Outside, the sun had started to set. Kids were riding bikes down the street. Wind chimes danced on a neighbor's porch. It was the kind of peaceful scene you'd expect in a place built on love and tradition. But all I could think was, I don't exist here. I was never meant to. On the drive home, I passed a gas station and pulled over, hands shaking too hard to hold the wheel. I sat there, parked under a flickering street lamp, and pulled up my phone. I looked through my photos. Me as a baby, bundled up in pink. Me on my first day of school, smiling with 2 missing teeth. Me in my prom dress, standing awkwardly beside a boy who's probably forgotten my name. He wasn't in a single one of them. Not at my birthdays, not at graduations, not at holidays, not even in the background. Just gone. Like he was never there to begin with, and that's when it hit me. There is no photo of me and my dad. Not one. Not one picture of me on his shoulders. Not one of him teaching me to ride a bike. Not even a blurry selfie. It was like he'd made a choice. Not just to walk out, but to erase the evidence that I was ever his. And for years I thought it was just bad timing. That maybe we lost those photos. That maybe we just didn't take enough. But the truth is, he never wanted to be captured in my life. Because then he'd have to remember it. I finally understood something I think I've been trying to deny since I was a kid. I was never missing a father. I was missing a man who had all the opportunity in the world to be one and chose not to. And no amount of explaining, no apology, no, I was young or I was scared would ever fill that photo frame. That space where he should have been, it's going to stay empty because it always was. It's been a month since that day. I haven't heard from him. No messages, no calls, not even a weak apology typed out in guilt at 2 a.m. He's gone radio silent. Again. But this time, it's not painful. It's expected. It's proof that I made the right choice. He told me I was the mistake. He told the world I was dead. And now? Now I've buried the idea of who I thought he was. I didn't tell my mom everything. Not because I wanted to protect him, but because I wanted to protect myself. She already blamed herself enough for letting him in our lives. I don't need her drowning in a guilt that was never hers to carry. Instead, I've been focusing on rebuilding the only thing that matters. Me. I started therapy. I told Eli the full story. Everything. He didn't try to fix it. He just listened. And for once, I didn't feel like I had to pretend I was okay. Kayla and I still talk sometimes. We're not sisters, not really, and we never will be. But there's a strange kind of bond that forms between two people who've seen the same monster wearing 2 different faces. She's angry too, in her own way. Turns out he's not as perfect in that house either. Just better at faking it. A few days ago, I sat down at my kitchen table with old photo albums, scissors, tape, and an empty frame. I picked a picture of me at 10 years old, grinning, dirt on my face, holding a trophy I won at a school event he never showed up to. I cut it to size, slipped it into the frame, and underneath, I wrote a date in pen and added 5 simple words. She showed up for herself. That frame is on my nightstand now. It's not proof that I had a father. It's proof that I didn't need one to grow into someone whole. I used to think I was broken because he wasn't there. But the truth is, he's the one missing out, not me. He'll grow old in that big, perfect house, surrounded by people who may one day ask questions he can't lie his way out of. And me? I'll keep living. I'll keep building a life where I am wanted, seen, and never hidden. A life where I don't wait for a seat at someone else's table. I set my own. And there's plenty of room for people who stay,